you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show with Stan DeFreitas, the dad, and James DeFreitas, the son. For the next hour, call in with your questions about gardening, growing your favorite veggies, and growing your profits in real estate. Call them anytime at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And a big good morning to you as we start off another edition of the Ask Mr. Greenthumb Gardening and Real Estate Show. Of course, I am the dad, Stan, and we have my great son, James. How are you this morning?
I am doing super. And of course, I am James DeFreitas, and we are here each and every week for your listening pleasure. And of course, if you have a gardening question, you can always peruse right over to AskMrGreenthumb.com. That's ASKMR Greenthumb.com. And you can click on the Ask button. And if you have a gardening question, or if you have a bug ID, you can actually submit it right from your phone. And again, the price of said service is economical. It's free, Free. So again, point your browser to AskMrGreenthumb.com. We encourage people to ask questions because we believe knowledge is power. And so that's one of the things I always like to lead out the show with. In studio today, we have an ISA board certified master arborist. That is a mouthful to say, and it sounds super important. How are you doing today, Norm Easy?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Well, I was just looking at your background a little bit over your personal experience. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff.
So what are you looking at?
Well, I'm just looking at your career highlights and professional experience.
Looking at my CV?
Yeah, I'm basically looking at your CV.
The attorneys always ask for your CV, so we'll go over your CV.
Well, it just says that you were a forester for the state of Florida Division of Forestry from 1980 to 1983. And then it says you were in Sarasota, you were a county forester manager from 1983 to 2001. And you are, of course, from 2001 to present, CEO Florida chapter of ISA, which stands for
International Society of Arboriculture.
Okay, and then from 1995 to present, you're the president and owner of Urban Forestry Consulting.
That's correct. I've maintained a consulting company for many years. Well, since 95, I guess.
Sure, yeah, and it's one of these things where I always like to give people the proper kudos because of the amount of experience that they have, that they've achieved in their life, and you're one of these guys that is I mean, if you say the name Norm Easy, and people know who you are.
Really?
Yeah.
They do. If they're in the tree business, they probably do.
Yeah. Well, they do. Yeah, that's what I mean in terms of in the arborist world. People know the name, and that's one of the great reasons for having you come in today and provide us your background and education.
Well, I hope I can live up to my reputation.
Well, you will. I have no doubt whatsoever.
Well, you gave him a nice build-up, and that's a good way to start.
So one of the things I would like to ask, and it's something we talked a little bit about before we started the show today, and it's one of the things, because we had a great gal in here, she went through the class, got her certified arborist. Now, she's in the tree business. And one of the things that she said to me is she said, hey, look, I'm noticing that a lot of trees all of a sudden are being cut down in a way that they weren't before. And so it got me thinking. And so something has changed. And something that Stan indicated to me at the last time that he was at a certification course is he said, he says, I used to attend these things, and they were like 25, 30 people here.
Well, 30 years ago.
Yeah, but then you said to me the last time, you said there were like 300 people.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah, it's amazing how big the organization.
There's about 2,200 certified arborists in the state of Florida.
I didn't know it was that high. Wow, that is amazing. That is an amazing thing. So the question that I wanted to kind of throw out to you is that she was worried, though, that because we're not having third-party people look at stuff, that some trees are going to be taken down that maybe shouldn't be taken down.
Yeah, and I think that's legit.
Okay, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Absolutely legit. I think, the Florida legislature passed a law a couple of years ago wanting to take the regulatory power of tree removal from cities and counties because, quite frankly, they went too far with it, right? The pendulum swung too far to where they were regulating things like if you want to prune off a branch, you have to get a permit.
Wow.
And so there was a backlash. And I think that's why But now the pendulum back then swung completely the other way. And I'm hoping that the iteration to the law that the Florida chapter advocated 2 years ago or a year ago, the current law, will bring the pendulum back down a little bit.
Okay.
So back then, the law said that if the tree poses a danger, and that's all it said.
Okay. So it's pretty vague.
Well, every tree poses a danger.
Right.
Just as every bridge poses a danger, every airline flight poses a danger. The danger is low,
Sure.
but it's not zero.
Right.
So certified arborists were saying, well, there is a danger, and so I'm going to write you a report that says this tree poses a danger.
Sure.
And they're not lying. It's just not completely what was intended, I don't believe.
Well, getting in my car today to come over here, I felt like I was in danger a number of times just getting across the bridge.
You were.
But
Well,
I
I
was
think
on
from
the
other
road.
cars,
Right.
maybe,
Well, yes,
but
other
not the
cars.
bridge
No,
falling down.
Well, not the bridge, kind of like the gun. It wasn't the gun, it was the person who used it. And the same thing with the car. It's the person who's texting and driving that bothers me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So-
car itself is wonderful.
So, anyways, would you? I mean, so it sounds to me like what you would advocate more would be maybe kind of like a middle way. You know, where
Yeah, and the middle way was we changed the law, and it said that you have to use the risk rating system that we have for arborists, and it's codified in our standards.
Sure.
A300 Part 9 risk assessment. You have to assess the tree, and if it comes up to moderate or higher after mitigation, in other words, once you've removed the dead branch, once you've removed the defect in the tree, if it's still moderate or higher, then you can advocate the removal of the tree.
Sure.
If that's the only way to get below moderate risk.
So that's interesting. So what you're saying is that in order to take down a tree, we should use logic and science instead of what's best for our pocketbooks.
Well, that would be desirable.
Okay, that's one of the things I wanted to kind of get from you.
And you're right. I mean, so it's like, people who doctor shop.
Right.
It's really not that different. If you have you have an opioid addiction. I've known some people and these are serious people that you would maybe know and be really surprised that they found themselves in that situation.
Sure.
It shocked me to find out these people found themselves in that situation where they were literally looking for a doctor for opioids. And it's really the same thing. And eventually you're going to find one, right? You're
Sure.
going to find that certified arborist who's willing to give you what you want and not what you need.
Right.
And that's despite what we train them or how we train them in seminars.
Right. And I guess that kind of dovetails back into my point is, and again, Stan and I we try to make sure that we're pretty politically neutral on this show. And one of the things but we always hear these buzz terms. We always hear, climate crisis, climate change, all of these things. And so one of the things that I keep looking at with trees is, to me, these are, whether you buy into the argument or not, they are the largest carbon sequestration machines that we have. And so the issue for me, and again, what I see some of the very wealthy people doing, the Bill Gates, and they will pay for carbon sequestration, and they'll pay for credits
Ahead of time.
ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, couldn't we just plant like 1 billion trees, and then all of a sudden we might be, doing something similar?
Yeah. Carbon exchange is a tricky topic, and I'm sometimes appalled at, and here we are going down a rabbit trail about
Sure.
carbon exchange, and I watch one volcano and then it just kind of wipes out the next 10 years
Right.
of all your plans for carbon sequestration. It's just like in 2 minutes it's all gone. It's just all
Right.
gone. And then 2 volcanoes in your 10 years, your 20 years. So I think, there's some of that is, I think, hype.
Sure.
It is true. The carbon balance is real.
Sure.
but I don't know. We really don't want to go down
Well,
that
yeah,
road, do we?
it's debatable. No, I mean, and I think that's a question that everybody can kind of ask. But America's 13% of the problem with carbon. The rest of the world, and I can't blame the India or in China, they want new things. They want factories. They want new stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
So they're not going to stop using coal and other things. We go, we need to spend that $10 trillion in America because you guys are bad.
Sure.
And I thought, go out and plant some trees.
But they just say, well, we'll get to where you are when we're at where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I
They
kind of
kick the
understand
goalpost.
Then come and talk to me about your righteousness and
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, and that's kind of my whole point is that at the end of the day is, I think the best that we could do is, we can acknowledge the situation, but the other thing is, you go back to, you always quote, was it Roosevelt that planted,
The things that Roosevelt did do was plant a bunch of trees. Right. And first off, he had a lot of people who were unemployed. So with the WPA and some of the other programs, they said, hey, we'll take these people, we'll pay them, and we'll let them go out and plant trees where there aren't trees. And they put in forest.
Lots of trees were planted.
And a lot of the buildings they did. One of the things I liked, if you look at some of the old schools where they built them with the WPA, you're going, look at that wood. I mean, the work they did, the brickwork and the molding and everything they did, it was just like, you guys were artists.
And all the parks that were added.
They were. That was
WPA.
That was great.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will pick on him for things, and I'm not going to get into politics,
right.
But I think that is one of the good things that he did.
Right.
And, you can always say, well, like most presidents, they did that good and
right.
maybe not so good
and
here.
I've always been an Eleanor fan.
Yeah.
Sure.
She's a wonderful woman, but if you look at the invasive plants that she brought to America,
maybe not, huh?
wow.
Exactly. Well, with that noise, we're going to pay some bills, but we are talking here to Norm Easy, ISA board-certified master arborist.
We want you to stay with us, and we're going to be talking about trees, plants, and the like, so don't you go anywhere.
Want to talk real estate? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online aflre.com.
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786, on the web at staffordtreesvc.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside, in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
At Dream It Real Estate, we're a different kind of real estate company. We embolden our clients to dream their biggest dreams and partner with us to make those dreams come true. Our emphasis is on team building with clients who become friends for a lifetime. For more information, please go to dreamitrrealestate.co or call or text James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127. Dream It Real Estate is always encouraging our clients to dream big with us today. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Give them a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we are glad that you are with us. We try to answer questions on trees and gardens and plants, and we're glad that we have Norm Easy with us. He is kind of a walking encyclopedia when it comes to all things ISA. And if you don't know what ISA is, tell people a little bit about what ISA is.
ISA is the International Society of Arboriculture, and we're about to have our 100th anniversary in 2024. So we've been around a long time. The Florida chapter has been a chapter since 1996.
Wow, so a pretty new chapter.
Relatively new chapter. Yeah, we were part of the Southern chapter. Southern chapter was a group of 7 states, and we broke away in 1996. We got our own chapter, and we've been very active since then.
My card still says SO on it. I'm still a
So
Southern.
mine does too.
Southern chapter.
Yeah, mine does too.
I think first 1,000 member or something. Yeah.
We got certified prior to 96 when the chapter came about. So it goes by whatever chapter you in.
Interesting. So I have a quick question. Because I was looking up, doing some research about you. You have a title here and it says ISA Board Certified Master Arborist.
Yes.
Can you explain the different types of arborists in terms of? I assume this means you have additional certifications.
Yes, it's the highest certification that ISA offers.
Okay.
And it's so let's say it starts with BCMA. That's the highest. Right now in Florida, there are, I think, 50 BCMA arborists. So to be a BCMA arborist, you have to have been a certified arborist for 5 or 7 years, and then you have to pass a rather rigorous test that covers, I think, 15 domains, 17 domains.
Wow.
Of subjects related to arboriculture. And then down from that is certified arborist. And certified arborist has 13 or 14 domains that you have to pass a test. And it is a tough test. The pass rate is low.
It's low. Yeah.
It's low.
That's good.
People take it many times.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes when, and again, I'm a real estate broker, so I can certainly say in the state of Florida, you get a birth certificate and a real estate license when you're born. And that's just,
I've heard that.
yeah. So, yeah, you throw a rock, you're going to hit a few lawyers. I'm not advocating for throwing rocks. I'm just saying if you throw a rock, you're going to hit a couple of lawyers and about 27 real estate agents.
Okay. So there's even more than lawyers.
Oh yeah, it's pretty amazing the amount of there's probably 16 people wanting to chase the same nut. I mean, it's and I do like to throw that out since we are talking about trees, so I wanted to make sure we had that reference in there. But yeah, it's one of these things where I am glad to hear that though, that there are different levels to this game. And
right. So then, in addition to certified arborist, once you get your certified arborist, your CA, there's other directions you can go. You can get a municipal credential for municipal arboriculture, which I did, as you mentioned, for about 20 years. I was a municipal arborist. So there's a certification for that. Then there's a certification for utility arborists. They have a separate certification that once you get your CA, you can also get certified arborist or utility certification. And then there's a track, which is probably the most recent credential that was added. And it's not a certification, it's a qualification. So qualifications are something some industries use. The medical field uses it a lot. So you get certified and then you get qualified in a number of fields. So we have one called TRAC. It's Tree Risk Assessment Qualification.
okay.
So what it does is a deep dive into A300 Part 9 tree risk assessment. So there's 3 parts to learning tree risk. There's the standard, which has the legalese in it. Then there's the BMP, the best management practices for risk assessment. And that's a further explanation of what's in the standard. And then ISA created a qualification. And that's a much deeper dive into both the BMP and the standard. And it's a 2-day course followed by a 1 day of examinations.
Okay.
So it's pretty rigorous, but the qualification, being a qualification, we teach you what you need to know to pass the test.
Sure.
As opposed to a certification where you come in cold.
Cold.
Yeah. And you know nothing about the test, and the test changes all the time. The ISA has a certification test committee, and they meet every 6 months and they write new test questions, and the test is always changing, and you never know what it's going to say, and so the people who give the test and the people who write the test question, we call it a firewall. There's a firewall between them. Not so with a qualification, where the instructors know what's on the exam and essentially teach to the exam. And I say we because I am a track instructor, we teach to the test, and we are rated based on how well our students pass. So if we want to have a high 90s pass rate, which is about right for the track class. I just did one a week ago in Orlando, and we had 40 students, and I don't know if everyone passed, but we only had one person not pass the outdoor portion, which I grade. Everybody else passed. I probably should say that on the air.
That's all right.
They might be listening.
Well, at the end of the day, it's a reminder that if you show up to these things, that you need to pay attention.
You need to stay awake.
You need to stay
and that's
awake.
why I tell people, stay awake, don't talk. And that was this person's problem. Is actually they kind of talk through the whole class.
And it's tough to listen if you're always talking.
Tell them to drink some coffee.
That's right. I watched my mother and my grandmother do that, and they did it in Italian. I think Italian might be different because they would both talk at the same time in Italian, and somehow communication seemed to take place. Of course, what do I know? I was 5 at the time, but
And speaking to that point, I can never tell if they're happy or if they're mad at each other. Sometimes the happy and
it looks the same.
It looks the same.
Your arms are waving.
Right. And again, if they're telling each other about directions, God help them, because that could be tough.
But the food's going to be good.
That's right.
Yeah.
The food is definitely going to be good. It's not going to be low in calories for sure, but definitely is going to taste good. Well, that's very interesting in terms of learning more about the track system. And I have some more questions that I definitely want to ask you about that. But of course, we are going on to a break here in just a few seconds.
Already, huh?
Yeah, already.
It comes up again.
It comes up again. And of course, don't change that dial. We are talking to Norm Easy, and we will continue asking him about all things Arbors related.
You're listening to AM 860, The Answer. You're listening to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb Gardening and Real Estate Show right here. And make sure you don't change that dial, because we're going to be right back with Norm Easy and more information.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at askmrgreenthumb.com. Broken air conditioner? Keep your home's AC running smoothly all year long with Easy Breezy AC. With thousands of active commercial and residential customers, Easy Breezy AC is Tampa Bay's most trusted HVAC company. Easy Breezy AC cares about those in need. Donate 2 cans of food and receive $20 off a $79 service call. Go to easybreezyac.com and use promo code GREENTHUMB for an additional $10 off your service call. Call 727-856-HVAC. Life's hard. Comfort's not. At Dream It Real Estate, we're a different kind of real estate company. We embolden our clients to dream their biggest dreams and partner with us to make those dreams come true. Our emphasis is on team building with clients who become friends for a lifetime. For more information, please go to dreamitrealestate.co or call or text James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127. Dream It Real Estate is always encouraging our clients to dream big with us today. Did you know that Stan DeFreitas, Mr. Green Thumb, can come to your house and examine your plants, trees, and palms? His knowledge can help you become the envy of your neighborhood with lush, green, healthy trees that don't just live, but thrive. Palms and oak trees are part of what makes Florida a beautiful place to live, but they get diseases and are often cut down. We offer ways to save your trees. Call or text Stan today at 727-423-4794 or go online to askmrgreenthumb.com. That's ASKMRgreenthumb.com. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at askmrgreenthumb.com. Got questions about gardening, real estate, or both? Give them a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we are glad that you're with us. I want to do a shameless plug for my son. He has Dream It Real Estate. You know, you trust him because you hear him every week, and you know he's going to do you right. So I would say give him a call if you've got that $1 million listing. And if you've got a $500,000 listing. We're not one of those guys that go, don't call us if you don't have it over $1 million listing.
I assure you, if you have a $50,000, 55 plus community condo, I would be just as happy to sell it as anything else, even though they are the exact amount of work as it would be if I were selling something much more expensive. But that's okay. You will get the exact same level of service from me, which is a dedicated person that is at your beck and call.
And half the time he's going to send me to help do the open house and showings because he knows I like people.
Well, you are my star agent. You are also my only agent.
See, that makes me the star. I get to be number one, and that's got to be worth something.
Exactly. Well, we are here in studio today talking to Norm Easy, which he is an ISA board-certified master arborist. And one of the things I wanted to ask you a little bit more about is the track qualification. And this is something, and again, I'm going to try to put it more in layman's terms. You can complicate it up and give us the skinny on it. But this is something that you would do after you become a certified arborist, correct? Because it's a qualification that you're adding to a certification.
That's exactly correct. So, you know, the law that the legislature passed several years ago, they assigned it to certified arborists.
Okay.
And certified arborists are capable of doing it. They still have to follow A300 Part 9.
Okay.
But most of them, without track, won't do as good a job.
So you're going to struggle.
You're going to struggle a bit. Yeah, you're going to struggle a bit as a certified arborist doing the assignment of risk assessment because it's very specific. There's literally, I think, 18 different things that you have to investigate and report on.
Yeah, and so explain that a little bit more too. Like when I fully admit that my background in this is very limited, but when I was kind of perusing it, it looks like there's different levels to this. So there's different types of, certificate, or I should say, qualifications of the track system. Like there's different levels and depth of how you would go about assessing them. So there's like a level 1, a level 2,
and a level
right.
3.
Yeah.
Level 1, level 2, level 3, right?
Yeah.
So track is basically a level 2. And level 2 was created, the level 1, level 2, and level 3 were created so that we could pull level 2 out.
Aha.
And I know that only because I was on the international panel that created track 10 or 11 years ago. We spent 4 years hashing out what this credential should look like. And it was 4 very long years.
I can only imagine.
Oh, my goodness. International experts from all around the world.
How did you get everyone to agree?
Well, it was hard. They literally, at one point, ISA hired a mediator to come in.
Oh, wow.
So, because we were so impassioned about the subject that this mediator had to come in and kind of mediate some of the battles that were going on in order for us to make any progress. It was an interesting process.
Sure.
But we studied tree risk assessment from all around the world. And this is another rabbit trail, by the way, we're going down here.
Sure.
So there's the Europeans, they've been doing it longer than we have. Of course, they've been doing everything longer than we have.
Sure.
But the Germans had a very tight, specific program that they followed. And then the Canadians had a program. The Australians had a program. The New Zealand had a program. And we looked at all these programs, and then Europe, some of the countries in Europe got together and did their own program. And we looked at all those programs, and we pulled out the parts that we thought would work in a 3-day credential. So if you look at what they do in Europe with their socialist government, they say, well, if you want to practice arboriculture, you have to have this credential, and it takes 2 weeks to get. Canada, same thing. They have very specific things that you have to do if you want practice. And that's just the nature of a socialist country, and that's what they do.
Sure.
So we looked at that and we said, okay, that's not going to work in America.
Sure. So you were practical.
So we had to pare it back. And that's why level 1, level 2, level 3 exists. And that's the only reason they exist.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it looks like magic, but if you peek behind the curtain, there's not a lot of magic back there. It was done for a very fundamental, basic reason.
Sure. But when I look at the track stuff that is in the book, because Stan ordered the book, and of course I perused it, and what I noticed is it is very in depth.
It is. It's
no
a good
joke.
process.
Yeah.
It's a very good process.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that I noticed right away is that you include a sheet that you can use. To me, it's kind of like a cheat sheet. You can go through. You don't have to remember all the specifics because you've already written it down on what you need to collect.
Right.
And so that kind of makes it nice.
So the front of the sheet is your data collection side. That's where you stand next to the tree and you collect all the data. And then the back of the sheet is the process for coming up with the risk rating.
Sure.
And it's a very straightforward process. And we frankly borrowed it from other industries. We looked at what do the engineers do, what do the attorneys do, what do the doctors do, and they all use very similar systems. And it's a word-based risk program. It doesn't use numbers.
Sure.
It uses words. And so when we come up with a risk rating on a tree, it's low, moderate, high, or extreme.
Sure.
And it all starts with, is there a target? Is there something for this tree to fall on if it did fall? And if there's no target, then you stop.
Right.
Because there's no target, no risk.
If it's out in the middle of the forest, it doesn't
That's
matter.
right.
Right.
If it falls on a raccoon, you know what? They don't hire attorneys.
Right. So the risk is rather low that the raccoon knows an attorney. I like it. So I guess the thing for me is taking this another step forward and trying to figure out what the future looks like with this system in place.
Ooh, what a challenging question.
Yeah. So that was where I was headed next. I know it's a big one.
Put Norm's feet to the fire. Now,
And I'm probably one of few people in the country, maybe the world, to ask this question. Because I know the process from beginning to end. And I know, the people that I go to, the Dr. Smileys, and then sometimes Dr. Smiley calls me. And I think, oh my God, frightening. Still going through a metamorphosis of getting track rolled out.
Sure. Right.
So right now there are around about 500 track qualified people of those 2,200 certified arborists. There should probably be more, but they're not hard to find. And so if you're curious about a tree's risk, the best certified arborist you can get is one that also has track. And that's the important message for the public. If risk is something that concerns you about your trees, you're much better off getting a track qualified person than just a certified arborist.
Sure. That makes perfect sense because they're going to have more knowledge.
Right.
Sure.
They pass the test. They didn't.
Right.
They don't get out of the classroom unless they know how to do the front side of the form and then process the back side of the form and come up with an appropriate risk rating.
Sure. And then the other question I would ask to that, are you finding that most of the people that are taking the track class, working for a municipality, are they doing it through, is it because of a governmental push?
It's an interesting mix. It's both, actually,
both.
because the municipal arborists, they kind of lost their big tool, right? When the legislature changed the law, they lost their grasp on controlling tree removal somewhat, not completely, but somewhat. So they're interested in what we're doing. And then the certified arborists who want to know more about this, because they've heard me talk about it, they've seen what's happened to other certified arborists who have done it wrong and got in trouble with the courts. A pretty famous case here in Tampa that people pay attention to. Pretty big case in Tampa that people pay attention to. And it was a result of not following the standard as it's written. And it's as simple as that. So we publish our standards. Anybody can buy it. The judge can buy it. Cities can buy it. They know what it is we're supposed to do.
Sure.
And it's easy for them to say when we did do it or didn't do it. So when people are paying attention, that's when certified arborists want to pay attention.
Sure.
And that's what's happening now is people are paying attention. And so they're saying, well, maybe I should get this track qualification.
Sure, it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, and the other thing, too, is that because you guys have elected to go with very similar processes to other very well accepted fields, especially when it brought into the legal framework, then it's easy for lawyers to take a look at this stuff and immediately go, oh, well, this is very similar to another type of thing that we would see in a different type of expert field.
Yeah. And it was interesting when your qualification lasts for 5 years.
Okay.
And as an instructor and as a creator of the qualification, I was following a renewal process that others didn't renew, because every 5 years we change it. We change the test. We change what's in it. What are we going to change? And so collectively we kind of test each other, and we make up the new test. And then of course I have to take it. But this time ISA changed the game on the instructors and said, no, you're going to have to do what everybody else does, and that is enroll in a class somewhere.
Wow.
And get recertified. And we have to pass the test with a high 90s score. And so it wasn't just us teaching us anymore. It was, I had to actually go and do it. I took mine in California, and it was taught by an attorney.
Wow, that is fascinating.
And I actually picked this one because it was being taught by attorney. I wanted to hear my words
said through an attorney.
Exactly right.
That makes perfect sense. And of course, that noise means we're going to go pay some bills, and we will continue talking to Norm Easy when we come back.
Stay with us as the Plant Talk continues right here on AM 860, The Answer.
Want to talk real estate? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com. At Dream It Real Estate, we're a different kind of real estate company. We embolden our clients to dream their biggest dreams and partner with us to make those dreams come true. Our emphasis is on team building with clients who become friends for a lifetime. For more information, please go to dreamitrealestate.co or call or text James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127. Dream It Real Estate is always encouraging our clients to dream big with us today.
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786. On the web at staffordtreesvc.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Green Thumb in Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Give them a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And as dad, I'm always proud of my son, James, because he does a great job in here. And I was saying, when I was in the hospital, I did 4 of my shows, and James did most of the show from here, and he carried the show on while I was sitting here. I had a machine pumping blood into my heart, and I was waiting for a heart to be put in, which now has been 2 years since it was put in, and thank God for that.
Absolutely.
But speaking of a man with a good heart, we've got Norm Easy in here with us, who is the head of ISA for our area of Florida and has been instrumental in, I remember when I first started with ISA, we were part of the Southern chapter, and there wasn't, I don't think, 30 or 40 people showed up for our meeting at the old extension building.
Yeah, there was very few. I think the membership in Florida was 200.
All right, 200 for the whole state.
Wow.
And I remember I was there. Our old friend Joe Samnick was there.
Yep.
And who's also, you and I both have gone against him in court cases.
Yep.
And I always admired Joe. And people said, well, what do you think of Joe? I said, he's a worthy opponent. I said, I'd love to go against him because he is sharp. I mean, and I like him. And I liked Lauren Westenberger. He was a great arborist.
That was the gentleman that helped move the big tree off of Fort Harrison,
Yes.
right?
Did you get to meet Lauren?
I didn't, unfortunately. I didn't get to meet, but
You heard me get to mention him.
yeah. But the fact that somebody took the effort to move that tree and it still be alive today.
You asked me if I loved trees, and Lauren loved trees. There was no two ways about that story. And Lauren was was a Tampa Bay icon.
Icon legend. Yeah.
And in fact, when I talk about Lauren in other parts of the state, people go, "Yeah, I've heard of him."
Yeah.
And this is down in Broward County. So they've heard of Lauren.
He did some things that hadn't been done before. I don't know anybody who's moved a tree that big in this area, and I don't know anybody's moved anyone bigger since then. I don't know. I don't think so. But that was for the Scientologists. But they moved this huge tree, and we're thinking, oh, the thing's going to die.
Yeah.
But it didn't. And as a forester, you're normally working with different trees when you were younger.
Right.
But, and I remember with the old days at Extension, you could go buy trees that the Forestry Service would have, and we would help to hand them out to people for a small fee.
Right.
And I don't know if that's still being done or not.
It is.
It was big then.
Yeah, it still is. They still do their bare root, and they do their containerized as well.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, because I remember helping to pick loads of trees I would carry, and I thought, here I'm carrying with a tie on, and I'm carrying these trees were in kind of a burlappy thing, I think, and I brought it to the homeowner would have their truck or station wagon, and they'd all had property out wherever. And I thought, well, that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
A lot of the bare roots may not live if you don't keep them moist, but, that's true for so many things we have in life. Now, you've done some consulting work. I've been in consulting work, so we often go against other folks, but I always think it's not that I don't hate my opponent. In fact, I used to tell Gil in the old days, God bless you for being there, because if you're on one side of the case, that means I'm higher
Speaking
than the
of
other.
Joe, Joe drives me crazy because he'll beat me in a case that I think I've got him dead to rights.
Sure.
And
It's the bow tie.
And Joe will win, and I'm like, what? What? That's not supposed to happen.
Hey, Joe's been around, and he's a
He
slippery.
finds a way to win.
He's a good man, and
Very personable in that way, for sure. And he's got a great bow tie, so that definitely helps.
He is one of the few that wears the bow tie. In every industry, there's a few that do, and Joe can pull it off. So we salute him.
Right.
We're not picking on you, Joe. If you're out there happening to listen, we love and respect you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no question about it. So again, kind of back to this, becoming a certified arborist again. One of the thoughts that I wanted to ask you is, again, are you seeing that? Is there percentages out there that you're finding? Is it mostly people that are going to be in the maintenance business or going into tree trimming business, or is it just a wide swath of different people from different backgrounds? Is it hard to pin a number to that?
Boy, that's a tough question. Where do these people come from?
Yeah. I'm just curious if there's like an
Everywhere.
I know.
There would be such an inclination if I were in your shoes to want to find out how people are going to apply this knowledge. Yeah. And I, again, maybe that's not something.
Well, they do surveys at the end of the programs normally, but that may give you a little.
I'm not sure we asked that question.
You
though.
don't, but
what rock did you crawl out from under?
Yeah, or how you're going to take this information and apply it to your occupation, whatever that may be.
We don't ask that one either.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be on the next question of the next ISA.
Well, food for thought. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a thought, because I am interested in long-term trends.
Well, we get veterans. There's veterans that looking for something to do, and they find trees. Maybe oh gosh, I don't know. You were asked to help out with a tree job somewhere, and all of a sudden you're doing tree work, right?
Sure.
And it has humble beginnings for a lot of people, and they take it pretty far. Some of them go very, very far with the career, but why people do it, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's just,
I know I stumbled into forestry. I started out in landscape architecture. And,
sure.
your dad will tell you about what that's all about. And I was taking all these art classes in college, and I was like, why am I taking art classes? And I wanted to do landscape architecture. And
The color palette.
lo and behold, I found out that's what landscape architecture is. It's art and design, and it's not plants. And
Sure.
I went to my faculty advisor and said, what's the deal?
Sure.
And so I went home dejected, and I went to my resident assistant. Remember RAs in college, resident assistant. And I said, what's your major? And he said, forestry. I said, what's that? And that changed my life forever. That one conversation with my RA, and I went down, changed my major to forestry, and the rest is history.
It's
Wow.
amazing how one conversation could change your life.
So I didn't even know how I was getting into this industry. I basically stumbled into it.
Wow. And of course, you got your degree from the University of Wisconsin.
Yes, and you would know that because you're reading my CV.
That's it. Exactly.
He's a Wisconsinite, which means
Yeah.
he loves cheese.
cheese. I'm a cheesehead. Yes.
Sure.
Well, I've been gone from there for 40 years.
So you've been here longer than you were there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's ironic because, my wife and I both moved at the same time, and we said we were going to do 3 years in Florida, and then we'll go back to the Midwest. It's been 40.
Wow.
So I don't see that on your horizon.
I don't see it either.
No.
It's pretty cold in Wisconsin.
No, I think we're going to be halfbacks, though. I want to do the halfback thing.
Yeah.
And I'm staring retirement in the face right now. I retire from ISA in the end of September. So I'm about.
That's coming up.
It is. I'm on my last year.
This is one of your last official
It
media
is.
tours.
It is.
Well, I can say I had probably Norm on this
For the last radio interview, absolutely.
We may have you back when you retire.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. It's
I'll
not
still
like,
be here.
it's not like the information goes away just because you retire.
Right.
And that's the most important thing is one of the things that Stan and I really advocate for is education, and knowledge is power. And without it, you make mistakes. And I think mistakes are part of the education process, but I don't think you should continue to make them. I think one of the things, getting more knowledge, more certifications, more qualifications for those certifications is super important. One of the things I wanted to ask you too is if I'm interested in becoming a certified arborist, how do I do that? Where do I go? What website?
Yeah. Well, you can start at isa-arbor.com.
Okay.
That's the international website. And then floridaisa.org, floridaisa.org, that's our website. But I will tell you that you have to have 3 years experience before you can sit for the exam.
Okay. That makes sense.
So you can't just study and take the test and call yourself an arborist. So you do have to work as an arborist. And ISA is very diligent about reviewing your work history, your application. You do have to prove that you've been an arborist for 3 years before you can sit for the test.
Well, that makes perfect sense. And of course, if people are interested in your consulting business, they can go to urbanforestryconsulting.com.
Apparently that's on there as well.
It sure is.
You did your homework.
I try
See?
to do my homework as best I can. And one of the things I would like to say, too, is thank you so much for coming in and sharing your knowledge with us today.
This
The
was fun.
hour has gone by so
Really?
quickly.
This is it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The hour went by quickly.
Oh my goodness.
I told you you'd have fun.
Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. It went by.
We've been
really
talking,
fast.
of course, to Norm Easy, and he is just a wealth of knowledge and has partaken in our show, and we couldn't be happier.
Yeah, we were glad you're with us, Norm. Thank you so much.
Wow, you're very welcome.
And if you want to know more about arboriculture, learn more about ISA and make sure they're ISA certified if they're coming onto your property.
That's right.
'Cause
There's a lot more non-certified arborists out there. In fact, I think it's 80% are not certified.
Thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend.
Want to talk real estate? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127. or go online, aflre.com.